And welcome back to another Yo, my bad. Welcome back to another episode of the Bravo Zulu podcast. Just me in the studio tonight. Let me know how you like the new camera. I got a new lens. It's a little focusy in and out there. So anyways, tonight, this morning, whenever you're listening, we going over there's a hot topic that came up at work, kind of. And just some opinions, and I wanted to get on the mic and talk about it a little bit about reading books about, what can you say, doing your job in the military, right? Or in our role as my role as a chief, reading leadership books and the value in it, what you could get and take away from it, and what purpose do they serve, right? So this came up when I came across the second edition, Chief Petty Officer's Guide, written by now retired Fleet Master Chief Paul Kingsbury. He's really popular in some of the different areas online and in writing and stuff. He does a good job, right? So I've never read the book. I don't plan on reading the book cover to cover. I'm planning on using it as a tool to give some training. Right, which I think it's an awesome tool for that, right? As in just like opening the book up and whatever page or chapter or paragraph you happen to read about, do a little Q&A with that. I was reading through it and stuff, and the end of each chapter, they have like a list of questions to ask about the chapter, which is cool too, if you read the whole chapter, right? But overall, I'm not a big fan of leadership books and becoming this reader of them that puts that into your like repertoire or into your toolbox of like, I've read all these leadership books, therefore I think or have learned to become a leader, right? And I feel that in today's world, not just military wise, but even outside of the military, right? It's a very trendy and catchy thing for people to suggest or implement into their workflow or into their team to synergize and all these into their team culture and to the climate of the command and all this stuff, right? These books that should be read or that they think that you should read, right? Whoa, I slipped or something. Something felt funny there. I haven't even been drinking today. Anyways, to make it feel like you need to do this, right? Like to be a good leader, to be a good manager, to be good anything, this needs to be part of your daily or weekly routine, picking up this book and reading it. Picking up there's always been a like St. O's reading list or McPond's reading list, right? And it's always been there. My eyes tweaking. But I feel like more recently it has become a big part, a very, very big part. Like you can't be a good leader without this. So of course that makes me question why the fuck you think that, right? To whoever might be saying this, right? Why do you think that we must read all these books or the suggested books that you are or someone else that has written these books to become a good leader, right? So, I was talking to one of my homegirls, a civilian back home, and she reads some of these books for whatever the work she does and stuff, and to become better or whatever she does, right? Shout out her. And, I'm going to go to my phone and look up the text message exactly, right? And I said, hey, when you read these books, do you feel like you're really learning new things? Or are you reinforcing things you've already learned, maybe in a new way, so it feels new? But in your mind, you're thinking, yeah, I know this. This is what she wrote back to me. She said, both learning new ways to approach things I have already learned and learning how my ways may not be the best approach. A different perspective, which different perspective is always good. A lot of aha moments. Like I knew I wasn't the only fucking one. Right. So that makes a lot of sense to me. But my reply to her was like, so you're not learning anything new, right? You already, again, it's not that you know everything, but it's things that you've picked up or learned through life experience or work experience or whatever. And while you're reading, you're just kind of nodding your head to it, saying, yes, yep, okay, yep, I'm doing that. Yeah, okay, yeah, I knew that one. I'm not doing it, right? Or maybe now I should, like she said, implement it differently so I it can become a better tool to be used, right? Or understand things, right? So, and that's how often I feel, right? So when I found the Chief Petty Officer's Guide, I was like, oh yeah, I knew it was a book that was out there. Again, never cracked it. You might be looking, ooh, bad chief. Okay, cool. I'll take the slap on the wrist. No big deal. So I looked up, I was trying to find some reviews on it or something, right? And so I came across one, I guess it's from dodreads.com. I'll drop the link on the show notes and in the description down on the YouTube. This is also going to be cross-posted to YouTube and everywhere you want to, listen to your podcast, right? Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. And so this one, I guess, is kind of like a interview Q&A with retired Fleet Master Chief Paul Kingsbury, right? And I was just kind of skimming through this. So I'm going to skim through this with you and see what some of his answers are to some of these questions and to kind of, just give my perspective on it. Of course, of not reading the book, but a few paragraphs over the last couple of days and things we've talked about that I've talked about with sailors, with my own sailor and with other chiefs in the mess about the book, right? And, whatever. One of the things, again, going back to it, like, you can read these all you want, okay? It doesn't matter if you're a first class reading it. It might help you out become more ready, quote unquote, to be a chief. It might give you some of that perspective on how it's operating there in the mess, a little peek behind the curtain, if you will, and that's fine. That doesn't mean shit though, really. You still have to show up during the season, and more importantly, after the season, right? Everyone knows that's when the real work starts, and just perform. So it doesn't matter how much you fucking read. If the execution in whatever you're reading or whatever you've been trained or whatever you've learned, life experience, if there's no execution, then it doesn't mean shit. And I think we're approaching an area, not just militarily, but in society and life where, it is important to be educated and to read more things, but the importance of the actual execution behind it is left out, right? And then again, in full openness, like this coming from someone who's not college educated, right, or not a degree, right? Some college classes, as they like to put on the boxes to check, right? So here it says, going back to like the Q&A, right? This is second edition, so he wrote a follow-up one. This is, I think, published in 2018. The original was 2004 by Master Chief Hagen, Mick Hagen. So Fleet Master Chief updated it. It says, updates the first edition and provides a modern, relevant update to a key book in USNI's professional reading series. It was written to complement and serve as the companion guide for CPO professional development tools such as CPO indoctrination course, the season, right? CPO mess training, cool, and senior enlisted academy. Fleet CPO training sessions and books and articles written for and about the CPO mess. All right, cool. One of the discussions that we're having was like, who's this book for? And someone said they think it's more for like the first year chief or like the chief select. So that's cool because it does say like the indoctrination course, as we call the season, right? So if you want to use that as a tool to provide training for said selects, all right, that's all right. But overall, I mean, it's not called a first year book. It's not called a season book or an indoctrination course hand guide. It's the Chief Petty Officer Guide. So it's meant for everyone. It doesn't matter if you've been in a chief for a year, 6 months, fucking 5 years, 10 years. It doesn't matter. This is for you. So again, being that I haven't read it, I'm gonna start jumping. I'm not gonna read it cover to cover. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I'm gonna use it as it says here for training. Right? I'm gonna open it up and whatever we land on, me and whoever I'm there with, we're gonna read about it in fucking Q&A and talk shit, right? And see what we learn. That's fine. Although written primarily for serving chief, senior chief, master chief, petty officers, and first class petty officers striving to advance to chief, okay. It also serves as a handy and informative source of insight information for naval officers, civilian managers, for naval, blah, blah, blah. Go on and on and on. And it lists a bunch of Like I don't know if these are the chapters or what, but how chiefs use power bases and influence to achieve objectives. How chiefs develop and use technical management skills to achieve objectives. How chiefs develop and mentor their sailors from boot camp to the selection board. How chiefs support and influence their peers in the mess. How chiefs support and develop the wardroom, and how chiefs lead themselves. Like, so as I'm reading this, and like I've cracked the book, I've skimmed through it a little bit and looked at the chapters. What I ask people is like, how do you not know some of this shit already? Like, how do you like? Let's go to this last one I read here. How chiefs lead themselves. Are you telling me that as a chief or an adult, let's say like a 30-year-old and older adult, you've not found out how to fucking lead yourself? Are we serious? And a lot of people might be shaking their head like, yeah, man, a lot of people don't know. And I would say, well, that's a problem. And that's not a problem that's going to be resolved simply in a 6-week, chief selectee season. That's not a problem that's going to be resolved by reading this book. It might make them aware, right? As my homegirl said, like, it makes her more aware of things. But as I just said, without the execution of the change, you're not going to get nothing. And I told someone the other day, we were talking about something, and they're like, well, why don't you talk to said person? I said, no, I'm not talking to said person. And they're like, well, why not? I said, because I'm pretty sure that later this year, we'll have plenty of opportunity to talk to said person. And then they're not going to listen then. So I'm pretty sure right now they're not going to listen either. So why would I? And again, if you're listening, you might be like, well, you're not, that's not very chiefly of you. That's not very good. I don't fucking care. Right? I'm not going to waste my breath right now. I'll waste it in the future, maybe, talking about things with someone that shows the stubbornness and hard-headedness and cross grain actions. Right? I'll just handle that later if given the opportunity. Right? But I'm not going to go out of my way. Again, then it's not like this person's a bad performer or anything. It's not like they're a shitbagger. They're just, it's someone that needs to be like, recalibrated a little bit and tuned up. I'm not going to tune them up. I've got other things to worry about. Other people who I'm working with, other things, other sailors to worry about than this one, who is a good performer or whatever, but is lacking in something. Right? So, like I said, I was like, no, if he ain't going to listen then, he's not going to listen now, which tells me she probably hasn't listened in the past, umpty squat years, right? So again, if I handed them this book and was like, hey, read chapter 12, How Chiefs Lead Themselves, and I expect you to come back in 4 weeks and let me know how you've, changed or thought about it, I'm probably going to get no different of an answer from day one. That's what I'm saying to that, right? Oh, hold on. So, that's just that. Okay, moving on for this Q&A. The updated guide integrates a variety. I'm stumbling today on my words. Variety of sources and anecdotes, leadership and management theories. Okay, there's a good one, right? Leadership and management theories. It's a theory. That doesn't mean you know exactly that it works. You have to try it and prove that it works. Right, people? Like, that's how theories work, right? I could look up the word if y'all want me to. Let's look up the word theory while we're here, right? I got the world at my fingertips. Here we go. Theory definition. Let's just be sure. I don't want to sound too stupid or stupider than I usually do. A supposition or a system of ideas intended to explain something, especially one based on general principles independent of the thing to be explained. Wow, that's especially one based on general principles independent of the thing to be. A set of principles on which the practice of an activity is based. An idea used to account for a situation and justify a course of action. Yeah, so that's it. Darwin's theory of evolutions. And, we could be like the Chief Petty Officer's Guide or theory of leadership, right? Because it's a system of ideas intended to explain how chiefs work. especially one based on general principles. We have some general principles. Maybe ours are a little more well-defined, right, with mission, vision, guiding principles, right? But that's what we're trying to explain is ourselves, really, right? I think so. Anyways, it also serves as a great resource to better prepare those chiefs in training for their future roles and responsibilities. Okay, cool. Which I think it does. I think, again, I don't think you could be harmed from reading it, but reading it alone will not make you ready or might make you more prepared, which I guess that's an oxymoronic right there, kind of, right? It might make you more prepared, but it will not. I don't know. I'm saying the same thing over. I'm kind of stuck on that. It might make you more prepared, but it won't make you ready. How's that? Why in my head is that two different things? I don't know. I'll come back to that. Maybe I'll find you an answer. Right? Might make you ready for day one, week one, but it won't. That doesn't mean you'll be ready for actual day after pinning day one chief shit. Anyways, blah 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 blah. I'm currently working on the upcoming Petty Officer's Guide with co-author PO1 Dan Richard. Okay. Guide this in the concepts. What? The guide takes the philosophy and many of the leadership concepts introduced in the CPO guide, works to align and reinforce the content of enlisted leadership courses described in Laying the Keel, Developing the Backbone of Our Navy. Of course. So okay, let me just stop there. And this is another thing I was talking about, right? Like this isn't even on, Retired Fleet Master Chief. This is on everyone who writes books on leadership. Leadership is such a corporatized fucking word out there right now. That's why you can find so many books and so many authors on the shit. Okay. And few, I think, actually, like most of them have led corporate teams, right? Or, when you read these books, and I have read a couple, when you read them, it's a very corporatized kind of thing. And then you get into like the Jockos with their extreme ownership and dichotomies of fucking this and that. And it's all about his boots on the ground experience that led him to be this great, phenomenal leader, that because this is how he did it in the teams, he can take that out of the teams and put it into your, corporate fucking boardroom. And you too can become this excellent, well-oiled machine that doesn't grind, but just works smoothly. Right. It's all corporatized, right? And so what I have the problem with is when we're refiltering that shit back into the military after it's been corporatized, right? And the military's already got enough problems with being, thought of being woke, which that's a different topic for another day. I'm not going to get into that, but being too woke or too corporatized and not militaristic enough, right? So all this, the CPO guide and this Petty Officer guide, it's all kind of in line with the leadership courses that we're currently teaching and Laying the Keel, Developing the Backbone. So you can see where it's going to interact. And eventually one day the Navy is going to issue out these books and someone's going to get paid on the back end because they feel that the way they can explain it is best and that their military experience is the best way to guide everyone and get everyone on the same path, which I don't agree with, right? I just, blanket statement, I don't agree with. Once the PO guide is published, we will have a continuum of leadership and management books for the Navy enlisted professionals that will only be strengthened with future revisions. We were planning on a spring release, but decided to revise the manuscript a bit to improve its utility and make it a bit more unique from the CPO guide. So there it is, right? They call it out right there. They're going to use these two books to implement into the overall training curriculum of the Navy. The Navy will buy them. Someone will get paid. And boom, now we have to do it this way. Or we'll have to read them. It'll become mandatory or be issued or whatever, the fuck ever. And I just don't agree with it. It's a corporate tool for someone to get paid. And I'm not going to say who. It's probably a few more than just one person, right? I don't like it. Right? I think if you want to read those books, that should be on your time, on your dime, right? But then you should be taken back and just asking people questions about it. Asking your chief, asking your officers, asking your junior sailors. If you're a chief reading it, you should be asking your junior sailors some of these fucking questions. One, to develop them. Two, to get the answers back to you so you could be sure that you're doing what the fuck you're supposed to be doing. Right? Anyways, moving on. What is the biggest takeaway that you hope a reader will take from your book? The biggest thing these books offer and their utility as a tool of self-reflection and improvement. Although we offer leadership and management concepts and advice on their application, the content is reinforced with questions for self-reflection that the reader can use to reflect and grow, and then take what they have learned and make a positive difference in their Navy. My goal is that they read and reference their guides often to better deal with challenging leadership situations that may find themselves in. So I'm all for self-reflection and improvement. Right. And you do need tools to, be able to do that. But in this instance, like again, being a non-educated person here, right? Full disclosure, I'm not that smart. Okay. This is only going to work. Again, I read through it enough to know that there's questions in the back of each chapter. Unless you're sitting down, writing out, or having a one-on-one or a small group discussion about these questions so you could get other people's perspectives, lend your own, and bounce those off of each other in a very trusted environment, right? Where everyone can just speak freely and say what the fuck they want to say. You're not going to get much improvement, right? You have to be able to put it down verbally or written so you can see and like get your thoughts out about it. You can't just read it and then read the questions. What are you going to do? Like sit there and just be like, that's a good question. Let me just, spitball this in my head for 5 or 10 minutes by myself. It doesn't fucking work. You need others to balance it and to let you know what you're thinking is crazy, fucked up, wrong, right, perfect, you're trending in the right direction, whatever it is. You got to have that. So again, using it as a tool for training, I'm all for it. But I don't think reading books alone by yourself and then, meditating over it is going to be the deal. Just my 2 pennies worth, okay? And then my goal is that they read and reference their guides and be able to deal with challenging leadership situations they may find themselves in. I have never been in a challenging leadership position where I get to call time out and go and read my books, right? You might get some time at the end of the day when you get home or something, but for most, that's when family time picks up and life picks up, like real life, right? Not Navy life, real life. And now you got to do all that. So again, this is just me, my own experience. You tell me if you're watching on YouTube or you want to hop over to YouTube, drop it in the comments. When do you make the time to reference your Chief Petty Officer guide to be sure that you did things right today? Right? When did you take the time to have the conversation with a mentor or something, maybe to see, spot check a situation, right? Which that I'm more capable of doing than sitting down and let me read my book or, and see how, today went. Then they go into recommendations. I mean, he's got books for everything. Newly Commissioned Officer's Guide, the Naval Officer's Guide, the Watch Officer's Guide. Like, how many of these books do you need? How many of these books say the same shit? Right? And that's why I say it's like corporatized, right? If you're writing books, it's to sell them so you can make money for someone or something. And that's fine. Pro-capitalist. Do your thing. Make your money. But let's not pass it off as you're just doing good for the sake of good. That's a problem I have with like a certain other person that I've name dropped before. Like make your money, man. Go ahead. But let's not pretend like it's for some other reason other to make money. Okay? Like if your company buys my shit and fucking I charge you and I send you an invoice and you pay it and your company still sucks afterwards, guess what? I really don't fucking care. That means you weren't able to fucking implement whatever I sold you, and I'll come back and charge you again because I'm making money, right? So it's like, come on, man. I just think this leadership stuff like this, not like this one specific, but a lot of them I think it's scammy. Straight up. Whatever about that. It's talking about like reading stamina. Like, yeah, start somewhere, right? 10 minutes, 5 minutes a day. He's read a bunch of books. He's reading some books now. Um, there's one that I wanted to read because this is where, uh, I was also referring more leaders that can now. Chapter titled Conceptions of Empower and Influence found in Leadership and Organizations by Gary Yokel. After reading this chapter and giving it much thought, I was able to create a framework of leadership that I can now align with other books under. It also helped me better understand why certain leadership approaches I used in the past worked well and what I could have done to be better influence my people and teams. I now use the power and influence model as a framework for discussion and talks I have regarding leadership and management. Beyond these types of books, I suggest that naval professionals also take time to read literature. There are many fiction and nonfiction titles in our world history. Read books. That's not what I was looking for. There's something else. Here. I've learned to balance investing time into what's become known as the 4 domains of resilience. I think this is it. Mental, physical, social, and spiritual. That's not it. My role, no. Man, there's something in here that talked about I don't know where it's at. That he talked about like reading different things. Oh, here it is. Naval professionals should also read widely on topics such as psychology, economics, and sociology. These topics are all founded in the study of human behavior and will serve those who lead and manage people well. I ain't got no fucking time to be reading about psychology, economics, and sociology, especially if I'm not even fucking taking the college classes I should be to work towards my degree. And if my degree isn't involved in none of those 3, guess what? I'm definitely not fucking reading any of those 3. Yes, we deal with people. Yes, all that shit deals with people and human behavior. Cool. I'm not becoming a fucking doctor or anything fucking related to those 3, right? You want to know about economics? Ask me about how I grew up poor. I'll share that story with junior sailors so they can maybe fucking relate to it. Okay? You want to talk about psychology? I don't know. I don't know how the fucking brain works and how things like that work. Sociology? I don't know. Get the fuck off Facebook and go talk to people, right? Sociology? I don't know. If you want to communicate, then do it via email, over the phone, or in person. If it really fucking matters and is important to you, do it in person. Like, I don't know. Like, who knows about this shit? What person, what chief, what officer, right, is reading? They're out there. Don't get me wrong. I know you're listening, right? And good on you. But, like, you're really trying to read all this, and by reading these or adding these 3 other areas to your reading material, you're walking in Monday morning to do quarters a fucking better leader today? I don't believe it. Not for the fucking split minute of it. Because some are failing at the execution. Many are failing at the execution, right? Whether they read this shit or not. And those who read it, I would probably say like they're failing even more because you're reading it. So you know what you're supposed to be doing and you're not doing it, which makes you even worse, right? Than someone who just doesn't know and they're kind of like winging it, right? Every day, shotgunning it. They're just doing what their chiefs of yesteryear taught them and stuff, and they're just kind of getting by with it, but they haven't had all these books read or fucking done all the analyses and all that shit, right? They're just kind of like, hey, this is the way my chief did it. I liked it. It worked good. I appreciated it, so I do it the same way. And I guess it works okay for some. And then I'm trying other things for others or whatever. You know what I mean? But you're telling me naval professionals should also read widely on topics such as psychology, economics, and sociology. Widely. That means like you should be looking for all of these books on these things to read about. I ain't got time for that shit. Most people ain't got time for that shit. Maybe like if you don't stand duty, you got time for that shit. I don't know who has time for that shit. Let me know. All right. Get on Facebook, drop a comment, head over to YouTube, watch the video, give a thumbs up, drop a comment. All right. And I'll get back to you. I'll answer it. These topics are all founded in a study of human behavior, and we'll serve those. That's the other thing, right? Like when we're talking, this is something was brought up in the shop the other day too. Was I guess it goes with human behavior, right? Like or the resiliency part of this shit, right? Is like people who haven't experienced any of this stuff in a way of like their own life experience. they tend to fold under the pressures of the things that affect each part of those, right? Their psychology, maybe their pocketbook and social, right? If you have no hardships, then you don't know what a hardship is. So the soonest thing that fucking throws you off your smooth life track becomes the fucking hardest thing in the world. And that could be catching, your battery dying, and now your whole fucking month and day is messed up, right? It could be catching a flat tire. It could be, you fucked something up at work and you got yelled at a little bit, and oh my God, your world's ending, right? When it's just a blip, a small blip on other people's radars, right? So again, whatever. I don't think so. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying. But you let me know. You let me know how much of that shit you're reading, of the psychology, economics, and sociology, right? That was that one. I was trying to head over to something else. But yeah, so this is a Chief Petty Officer's Guide. Again, I got it at work. I'm reading it. I'm providing training on it. I'm not gonna, man, hardcover is fucking $40. I'm just gonna use that free one that's on the ship. But yeah, man, let me know what y'all, if you've read it, let me know what you think about, you reading it. What'd you get from it? Or again, is it more just you feel it reinforced good habits and exposed some bad ones for you, but these were things you already knew? You know what I mean? Or just opened your eyes up, like maybe like when I think of the aha moments, I think of it's like, that's what they call that, right? I didn't know the scientific word for it, but now I do know the scientific word. That's how I act. I know that's how I act, but I never knew the book word for it, but now I do. Since I read the book, I learned the book word, which, cool. You know the book word. Guess what you still going to go end up doing? If you're still acting like that or doing that action, then you haven't changed, right? Again, I look at it, and as I've talked with other people, like it's all about execution, and there's a lack of execution all the way around, right? From anyone who claims they're a leader, even myself. I always the first one to raise my hand. I fucking lack execution in many of things, right? Apparently reading fucking books. But anyways, that's it, yo. I just want to ramble about that a little bit. Let me know, again, jump in the comments. Let me know what leadership books you've read, how you respond to them, how you use them, how they made you better, all that good stuff, right? I'd be really interested to hear from some of you, and so you can, help me out, because I'm not reading books. I don't plan on it, but maybe if someone convinced me to read one, then, I might give it a try, but, we'll see. I'm jury's out on that shit right now, folks. We got a couple more episodes, like, there should be some coming up hopefully soonish. Life is busy with work and everything, and duty section and all that. So for more information on how you can support the podcast, please visit anchor.fm/Bravo Zulu podcast. The information, views, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely of myself, Joshua Moore, and the individuals involved, and do not necessarily represent the DOD, DORN, or those of the respected institutions or organizations. Thanks for joining us.